And I see it saying here that it is now starting to stream. All right, got it. Okay. And I think we are good to go. And I see it saying here that it is now starting to stream. All right, so I mute that because it has an echo. All right, Mr. Jenny, go ahead and say something. I want to make sure yours is flashing on when you talk.
Peekaboo.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't show. Dang. Okay, well, tell you what. I'm gonna record. Let's go ahead and get started, and then I'll repost it. There we go. Oh yeah, it is working. Actually, it does work. Okay, so when you talk, it flashes back and forth. We perfect. We platinum. All right, let's get started. Jenny, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. 1, 2. Let's hit the record.
I thought you just did that. Oh.
There we go. What up, everybody? This is Uncle P from Super Easy Forex, and I'm so excited to do an interview with the top female scalping trader in the world, as far as I know. I know nobody who's better at trading in the markets like she does. And so I'm very happy and proud to be interviewing Miss Jenny. And we have Miss Jenny in the house. We have others who's zooming in, connected through Zoom, and some people who will be watching it through YouTube. And then we have thousands of people who watch it later on. Thank you guys for joining us and supporting us all this time. This interview right here is one of many but I wanted to start with her because, again, I know of no other female trader in the world, and I know a lot of traders around the world, but I know of no other female trader in the world who trades as well as she does. We're going to be interviewing her to just pick her brain to see her thinking process and many other things as we go along. However, before we get on this interview, I want to give you guys heads up. This is the first of many. I'm also going to be interviewing a gentleman by the name of Mr. Elvis, and those who's in the Zoom, you know exactly who he is. He's one of the signal providers that sends out signals. We're going to be picking his brain and find out his thinking process because he's a swing trader. Ms. Jenny is a scalper. So I'm going to be bringing people in so that you guys can see from different perspectives how professional traders actually think when they're trading. Okay. In addition to that, I also have my personal tax accountant who will be joining us in about 2 weeks. I don't have the exact date. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but in about 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing a live interview with him so that you guys can understand what it's like and what knowledge you need to have so that as you're making money in the Forex market, you'll know what to do with the money and also how to avoid paying additional extra taxes on it. Because you guys know that you guys, as far as Forex traders, we get taxed at very high rates, but you don't have to always subject yourself to that. There's a way around that. And so I'm going to be bringing him in so that you guys can hear from a professional accountant what you need to do as you're making money in the markets. All right. With that being said, I'm excited to get started with Ms. Jenny. Ms. Jenny, how are you today, beautiful?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing wonderful, doing wonderful. So, Ms. Jenny, first of all, let's start with something simple. How long have I known you and how long have we been together, working together?
Oh, I don't know. How long have we known each other?
Man, I think a couple of years now, huh?
It has been a couple of years. I think
It's-
what, 4 years, give or
yeah,
take.
about 3 or 4 years. Yeah, and I kind of met you right when we were still an infancy company, not too big, nobody knew much about us. And yeah, we've been working together for a very long time. And just so everybody knows, she is, for those who haven't joined and those who's just watching us who don't know who we are and all those kind of things, and you're still kind of doing your educational portions. Ms. Jenny is the head of our signals department scalping division, if you want to call it that. In other words, if you ever want to become a professional scalper, she's the person who's going to not only show you charts, but she's the one that you're going to be speaking to and learning from. Because I believe in providing education from people who I know firsthand have that talent. And so that's who she is. Okay. So Miss Jenny, let's start with your track record. Let's start there with your track record. You just broke a record, and I think it should have been on what do they call that? The Guinness Book of World Records. Personally, can you share with everybody what your record was as far as your pips that you accumulated through scalping?
Okay, so since we started keeping track in a different format, I guess that's February 1st, 2021, we have collectively, I guess you could say live, right? It's all recorded, it's all documented.
Yes.
Collected over 130,000 pips in what is that, 6 months? And that's all live. That's in 2 hours a week, twice a week. So
Okay, say that again. Hold on. I want everybody to hear what she just said. Y'all made how many pips in 6 months? Just 2 hours a week? Huh?
already, it's 130,000 right now as of today, right? It's 130,106 pips, and that's since February 1st of this year. In 2 hours a week. So it really takes us maybe 30 minutes to an hour to find that trade. Then we hang out, we discuss other cool things, we talk about different stuff. Sometimes just whatever comes up that day. We do that twice a week, and that's it.
Okay, hold on. That's mind blowing. Okay, that is literally mind blowing. And we have an audience here. We and I can see your guys' comments there. And let me see if I can see them here. Oh, hold on. Let me see. I forgot. I don't know if I turned on the comment section. Oh, sorry if I didn't. Over here and on YouTube. If not, I apologize. But here's the point. Point is, Miss Jenny, that's insane. Freaking insane. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of that. Never. Let me ask you this: do you have your win-loss record as well for the last couple of weeks?
That's still hovering right around 89.8% accuracy overall.
Wow, wow, that's insane. Okay, so here's my first question to you: what? How did you get started in forex?
Like a lot of people, IML, well, actually, more accurately, I was kind of in the process of a big life change. I was looking to get into Bitcoin. A friend of a friend through different business connections said, "Hey, this is how you're going to learn about Bitcoin." And we got in touch, and of course, she introduced me to IML. I blared through it, busted through it, made some money up front, and then spent the next year losing, like a lot.
Mm,
And then I ended up coming across you guys. There was too much information, it was over analysis paralysis, right?
mhm.
Come across it super easy, and I really kind of honed in on that whole have your own rules, stick with one system, and then I really found my way. It stopped being such a like up down roller coaster, and it became to where now we can use. It was awesome. So that was the real big transition point for me.
Wow, wow. So, how long did it take you to become a successful trader, in your opinion? From the time that you got involved with forex to the time where you actually felt, okay, I'm successful, I made it.
Well, like I said, I had some luck, right? I was profitable like that first month. I actually withdrew. I thought that, I was on my way to being a multi-billionaire. I was like, oh my gosh, I got this. So with that in mind, and then spending the next, almost the entire year completely losing everything, I
Mm,
think it took a good solid 2 years before I honed in on something that was not only mine, but I could kind of stick with, and I could tweak, and I could advance, and I could actually comprehend, right? I could duplicate the results because we can all make money on Tuesday, but can you keep it on Thursday, right? That's the
wow,
concept.
that is so. Digging a little bit deeper into that, why? How did you make that cross of being able to be consistent? That would be a good question there, because you're right. Some people have like a lucky rabbit's foot, and they make money on one day, and they think, okay, I got it, but then they're not able to sustain it. What made the difference between you and the average 85 and 90% of forex traders who actually don't keep consistency? What do you think it was?
The rules. So, like everyone tells you when you start, they said, "Hey, have a trading journal," and you're like, "Oh, that's not a big deal. Let me just figure out what I'm doing first, right?" They say, "Hey, have rules," and you're thinking, "That's not a big deal. Let me just figure out what I'm going to stick with first." And then you realize, "Hey, wait a minute. That one step was going to be it was going to be the turning point between everything." And to realize that it wasn't about like this one trade, it wasn't about feelings. It was have the same amount of confidence that you will win or lose that trade. That's a completely different trading in itself. Like I don't have better words to say that what is that quote where it's like confidence is not being able to walk into a room and thinking you're better than everyone. Confidence is being able to walk into a room and know that it doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't, you're not against anyone else. Same kind of concept. Confidence in a trade is not whether or not you will win this trade. It's even if you lose this trade, you are still confident of that. And when I cross those kind of concepts together, that was a huge, like I had rules, I understood it was no longer stressful to take a loss. It got, easy.
Let's dig deeper into that, because actually you're digging right into my next question. I'm currently reading a book, and oh my God, I don't have it in front of me, so I don't have a title. But anyway, it's a great book on forex trading and handling emotions. That was the question I wanted to ask you as well. How do you handle your emotions during the trade?
I don't care about the trade. Like I
Really?
wish I had some. I don't have a secret sauce, honestly, because I feel like life has enough hard stuff. And like I said, when I first started this trading journey, I was at a huge transition point in my life. So all of my emotional, capacity was going to something completely different, right? It was going to this high stress other area. Whether I won or lost had zero significance. And I think that once I got my skill set kind of transferred over to even now, and the people who work with me, my team, not just clients, but my team of people can say that whether we win or lose, like we're chill. It doesn't matter. Woohoo, we got our pips this week, but we don't do the fake hype either. We do the hey, cool, we got it, or hey, we lost that trade. Doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter at all.
So, but here's the problem with majority of traders, and I teach this when I'm teaching my classes, that there's a Bible verse that I strongly agree in. And it says, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And when it talks about the heart, it's actually talking about your emotions. So when it says there, wherever your treasure is, there will your emotions be also. And I find that when I'm teaching my weekly classes, that's one of the biggest things that is echoing amongst the average retail trader is the lack of being able to control the emotions because they have their own personal money on the line. So let's dig a little bit deeper into that. So I get that you were having other issues at the time. So how was that the secret sauce that numbed your feelings to every trade? Because that's actually, again, one of the things that most successful people have in common. But to make that leap from being a non-emotional trader, I'm sorry, from being an extremely emotional trader to a non-emotional trader, it's very difficult for the average trader to deal with. So what advice would you give to the average retail trader who's dealing with this? In other words, when they jump into a trade, they're freaking out. They watch their phone 24 hours a day, about to lose their job because they're always on their phone. They're on a date, but they're watching their phone. And I'm saying this because that was me.
Yep.
That was me. I'm on a date with Miss Nancy, and instead of spending quality time on the date, and I still remember to this day one time when we was in the movie theater, and your phone is supposed to be off because it's supposed to be dark, and here I am in the corner, and you see this blue light from a cell phone. That was me because I was in the trade staring at it, so I don't even remember the movie, and I was supposed to be on a date. So how do you disconnect your feelings from your trades? How did that happen? Besides just the trauma of other things, what would you suggest to others?
Um, I guess, well, you said something early on that really it really touched my heartstrings because yes, where the heart is, right? We know that concept, but people's hopes and dreams are on the line here. Like people's everything. It's not just their money. Yes, some
Hmm.
people, want the Maserati money, as everyone knows I say, but it's also their hopes and their dreams, right? It's the Honda that they wanted to get for their, aging mother. It's bigger than that. And with that in mind, I guess two things. Number one, you need to have some form of management in place to where rules of management, and I know I say that, but it really is that simple. I took this trade. Here's my rules for entry. Here's my rules for exit. Preferably have an EA. If not, you need to have solid rules that are written down, and then you walk away. You have nothing else to do with that trade unless the market gives you another reason to touch it. You don't touch it at all. And number two, your money is only going to grow as much as you do. So, like, if you're not reading books, if you're not getting deeper into the parts of yourself that you didn't want to talk about, that you didn't want to deal with, the emotions that we are all processing, none of us are perfect. None of us had that perfect. Even the people you think who had the perfect life didn't, right? We have these parts of us that have money blocks and issues and emotions. And that's ultimately going to hold you up a whole stinking lot if you don't start changing your mindset and your emotions toward money. So,
Let me ask you this: you get on something deep because I do believe because when I'm teaching, that is part of the problem. Well, I want to quit my job in the next 2 weeks. Just started Forex a day ago, but want to quit their job in 2 weeks. But you're right. They do tie my outcome to every trade. So I do think that is something that needs to be disconnected. in addition to that, I want to ask another question though. So one of the things that causes people not to be able to walk away from the trade is the amount of leverage they put on each trade. How did you handle your money as far as managing the account so that you can feel comfortable walking away? What's your rule on that?
You need rules. That's the rule, right? So you and I can talk for like 5 hours, and the reality is we cannot come up with one set of rules today for every person that's even, tuning into this Zoom right now, because they're all using different amounts, brokers, they're trading different pairs. I mean, so we can't say, hey, these are your rules because some of y'all are trading US 30 and some of y'all are trading, GBP USD. It's not going to be a one size fits all. Some of you guys have the kind of disposable income where you can afford to redeposit your money every month and treat this like a career, right? So some of people have better access. Some people, this is $200. They're living off of somebody else's paycheck. They have no income of their own. They're like desperate. Those people probably shouldn't be using the same risk, parameters that somebody else maybe has access to. So I think that, I totally had an answer for that. No, I totally forgot. Sorry. But that's kind of the point is rules. It's going to come down to rules, period, at the end of the day.
So I think that that is a good one. We try to come up with strategies all the time. That's the big thing in the Forex market. Hey, what's your strategy for this? What's your strategy for that? But I do believe you hit on something key. We don't have a strategy to manage ourselves. We always trying to find out strategy to manage the trade, enter the trade. Here's my trading rules. What was the setup? Well, I see in supply and demand, support and resistance. I see in the Elliott wave theory. I saw this, that, the Don't You Own channels and everything else. You understand what I'm saying? You understand? You got all these different strategies for the charts, but not one rule for your emotions.
Okay, first of all, I know why we get along because you pronounce that about as good as I pronounce Ethereum, which haha, I got right. I only
Yeah.
Anyways, back to what you were saying. Here's the reality. It is rules, and it sounds like such this four-letter word that people hate because they're like, well, that's not it. That's not the beginning of my success. That doesn't matter. That's not going to solve my problems. It totally is going to solve your problems. But people overestimate what they can do in the short term and underestimate what they can do in the long term, right? Because 20% a month, okay, on a $10,000 account makes you a multiple six-figure income earner at the end of the year. Seriously, 20% a month. And let's be honest, most banks aren't doing that. What is it? Warren Buffett didn't do that. Whitney, whoever didn't do that. None of these people have done 20% a month, but we have access to not only the systems and the strategies and the tools to actually do 20% a month. And that's on the low end. We can actually beat that by multiple times. But people don't like the way that feels. 20% a month feels like 2%. It feels like 0.5% in gains today. It feels like, okay, well, I made $15 on $100, 100 on $200 account. It doesn't feel like very much. And because people don't feel like that counts, it doesn't matter because they're overestimating what they can do today and they're underestimating what that looks like in a year.
So here's the deal. One of the things I talk about during class is 401k trading, 401k IRA trading. And that's where, as I explained to them, when you're doing 401ks and IRAs, which is tied to the stock market, a lot of people didn't believe, oh, I'm not into the stock market. I say, yes, you are. If the stock market drops, have you noticed that your 401k did too at the exact same time? Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah, exactly. But here's the point. The point is that you're not really tripping off of that money because it's set aside for the long term, for the long haul. But the moment they hit the Forex arena, their whole mindset changed to where they feel like they have to double and triple their account every single day. So I think that there's value in what you just shared as far as, hey, even if you had 20% gain a month, that's far better than even what you're getting in your 401ks and IRAs. So why don't we just slow it down? And let me connect some dots for everyone who's listening because Jenny is spilling some golden gems. This is why I like talking to her. So here's the problem, I believe. The problem is that with the short-term mindset of having all your dreams and visions and ideas of what you want immediately tied to the Forex market, it causes you to want to rush the growth of your account. And when you do that, you end up over leveraging your account, which leads to disaster, which leads to emotional hijacking, which is what this book is talking about. It's talking about professional traders know how to temper their emotions, and most Forex traders have an issue called emotional hijacking. You get emotionally hijacked because all logic goes out the window, even though everything we talk about makes sense when it comes to you actually placing the trade, because it's not just a simple, as Miss Jenny had said, it's not just a simple trade for you. For her, it was just a simple trade. If it wins or lose, oh well, it's not that big of a deal. But for you, when you place your trade, it's everything is tied on the line. And it's not just about the money, it's about my dreams, my goals, Luke, quitting my job, buy my mama their house, getting my kids this and that. So I think that's the difference, Jenny, that you hit on. It's that you don't connect your whole entire life to a trade. A trade is just that, it's a trade, and you're building it slowly over time. So let me ask you this. How would you communicate your ideas to the average trader, which you teach classes for our signals group every week? So you're talking to a lot of people just like I am. And so I'm sure I'm not the first one asking you this. So how would you encourage people to kind of put some sort of rule in place on, okay, here's how you disconnect how you feel about a trade and your dreams goes da 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 da, and just treat the trade for what it is, a financial transaction?
A few things. So I guess first and foremost is it goes back to the trading plan, right? So for me, I would say you need a budget. What room or what fat do you have in your budget right now that says, hey, I can afford this much per month in terms of my reinvestment into my growth, right?
Mhm.
That means grow it or blow it. It doesn't matter. It has zero impact on me because I've already budgeted for this and this is my career, my business, right? It takes money to make money, period. But number two, obviously, you're going to manage risk and you're going to manage leverage. You're going to manage what you're doing in that trading plan. But I think number three, and this actually isn't mine, but a good guy in the group, he says this all the time, which is reduce your monthly expenditure. And it sounds so simple, right? But the less you need, okay, to live on, then it's not so stressful. Like if you're not trying to, like we discussed, buy the Maserati, if you're not trying to show up with the Gucci and the drip and the blah, 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 you can live a really good life. I mean, completely financially free, answer to no one. Like you make your own rules. That's the actual value of wealth. Is if you don't want to, you owe nobody nothing. Excuse
Yes.
broken English, but you can have that. Doesn't take very much to make it happen either.
And you know what? It's amazing because you sound just like you're like Nancy. Because here's what I actually did. I used to be the flamboyant guy. I mean, I still have. I just bought, a nice car because I wanted it. I want to get me a nice piece of transportation. It's just me and Nancy. So I have what I call the date car. But other people call it the Batmobile. So I got one little flashy car, but other than that, we live really, really simple. I'm glad you brought that up. Our lifestyle is simple. She doesn't believe in all that, big mansions and this and that. And as a result, that's why we travel all the time. But it's not about the travel. What I actually did, I sat down and added up how much money I have to be able to take care of my wife and so forth. And I was very happy because at one point I was 1 week away from being homeless when I met her. 1 week from being homeless. And now I looked at how much I can afford to pay our monthly bills because I reduced our expenditure. We live simple, we live quiet, and I can take care of us for years. If I place no other trade, do no other business at all as of this point, I can take care of us for years. And that brought me comfort because, as you know, the world is going crazy. All kind of things is happening. The markets are going, they be tripping lately and stuff like that. But as you said, every trade is not tied to a particular life or death situation because I'm reducing what I need. I'm happy. If I go splurging at the mall, I can go right on to Ross and buy me a $10 t-shirt and I'm just as content because and you bring up so many gems. And I want to get to the next thing, which is your trading style. So we're going to transition into that. But let me say this to everybody. The deal is that she just dropped another gem. Too many people are attracted to the Forex market because you see people with the Lamborghinis and the this and that, and it's not. And that's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. But the less that you want of other things, the easier it's going to be for you to become a trader because you're not tying your dreams, those elaborate dreams, to that situation. If you just thought, hey, I just want to make enough so that I can pay my cell phone bill this month from Forex, and then you become consistent with that. Then the next thing, hey, I can pay this monthly credit card debt off through Forex versus my job. What you don't realize is over time, with that kind of mindset versus the Lamborghini and the mansion, if you just target, hey, can I make enough to pay this bill off, this one bill, starting with the smallest one, then to the next, then to the next, then to the next, and you're paying it through Forex, over time, you realize you will be able to quit your job eventually because all your bills are being paid through Forex and not through your job. And once you have enough built up and you've been consistent, and that's the key, being consistent on your trading, then yes, you can afford to go ahead and walk away from your job. But you did it systematically, like she's talking about. Jenny, you are a genius.
Okay.
So let me get to the next question. Let's get to something good. This is what people are wanting to know. And I want to know this too. I've been working with you for several years and I love working with you, but I never figured this out myself. How did you decide on being a scalper?
Accident.
Really?
Well, first off, let's be honest. And sorry, I'm about to say this out loud, but I'm pretty good at telling the truth. So here's swing trades are great and they're peaceful, right? But a lot of people need money quicker than that. The market was getting a
Mhm.
little bit weird, pre-COVID actually. So pre-COVID, the market was getting a little weird.
Yeah, yeah.
Gold was acting funny. Now, of course, in retrospect, we know that now, but at the time we couldn't explain it, right?
Hmm.
Just there were some dynamic changes in the market that could not be quantified, at least for somebody where I was coming from, who pays very little attention to fundamentals, as anybody knows. So with that in mind, completely by accident, we were looking for the best possible trading systems, and I love learning new strategies, and I love the concept of being able to make almost any strategy within reason work within good management. So the one we're using now, it works so good as a multi-time frame tool. It works so good as a multi-time frame baby entries, and it's so easy because like some of us come to the chart like I was so over people saying you had to trade London. I was tired. I have kids. Like I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
be at the market in every session. Like I was so over the whole concept of okay, hold, 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 and then the spikes happen. I don't want to be looking at my phone or my computer. So I guess it was a massive amount of changes within myself and within the market. Plus, I moved to Florida, which means I had better access to New York Open. It was just
Mhm.
perfect. So that kind of answers your first question. And then rules, I think, was the second one, or was that in the
No, go keep going because that's next. Yes, go right ahead.
okay, so beyond that, how did I fall in love with this system and why am I doing what we're doing? Because so a lot of us we see this huge move. Last week we saw it in the Canadian pairs, right? We see obviously US 30 and everything making these all-time forever highs. Great. But then how do we capitalize on that trend? There's a bajillion different screenshots on the internet. There's a bajillion guys willing to sell you a $5,000 hour of his time. But here's the reality. All you really need is a way to re-enter that, trending move. All you really need is a way to, like what Simplicity does, know when that quick pullback is coming so you can capitalize on that pullback. All you really need is a good system to consistently take these baby scalps along the way with the overall time frame, with the overall bigger play, right? The bigger trend. So for me, I can come to the chart for an hour, less than an hour in most cases, take some trades because I'm looking at indices. I can get thousands of pips a minute and then go on with my day. Not a bad way to be. Like,
A bad way.
mm-mm.
So let me ask you this, because, and this is why I wanted to start my interview with you first, because as you and I both know, having been in this game quite a while now, the majority of people who enter into the Forex market, they come in trying to be a scalper and find zero success. And so I wanted to interview you because I know a lot of people want to be scalpers, but they are not successful at it. And you're one of the rare ones, not just a rare one, but you're a rare female trader at that, you know? So how did it work for you when it doesn't work for about 90% of retail traders who come in being scalpers and they studied tons of strategies, bought tons of systems and all these different things, and they're still losing after all this time. And you blossomed. How did that happen?
I feel like that was loaded, first of all. Having said that, remember 98% of people who enter this market fail anyways. Whether they're
Yep.
trying to do stocks, binary, whether they're trying to do any form of what we're doing, 98% of people fail anyways. So let's take that in perspective. You're still only working with 2%. And that's, goes into all the tried and true conversations where, 98% of the population is dead or dead broke by 65. So we're going to hone in on the 2%.
Yes.
98% fail at swinging as much as they do scalping. They fail at binary options. They just don't know it yet. They're in the process of tripping their way to that failure. Same thing with swing trading. I
Yeah.
assure you that it just takes them a longer amount of time as a swing trader to realize this 3 year plan is a failing plan because they're holding it for a month. They're a position trader, right?
Yes.
That's all. The reality is, I feel like it's not going to be a higher level of success or failure based off of what strategy you use, particularly if you choose something that, again, first off, you can see your budget and your time allows for, your rules are conducive of. If you can have the same level of success with any of those things, stocks, in my opinion, need a lot more money to make a lot of money with stocks, but
Hmm. Hmm.
anything, pick your poison. You can have success in that arena. Just most people are going to fail. It doesn't matter what arena. I don't feel like scalping is any different.
So, but for me, I talk to a lot of people who come and say, "Hey, I want to, what's your strategy for 5 minutes? 5 minutes." It's typically that's their key. Always 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes.
Because they're scared.
And and my question to you is, and if you can repeat, because we have a lot of people who join late, what is your record as of the last 6 months? You said what was y'all's trade record in pips?
89% and 130,106 pips in less than 6 months, all live.
130,000, and yes, all of your trades, because she, and for those who don't know her, she does work. She heads up our scalping group for the Signal service. So once you join, you'll be working directly with her, and so therefore everything is documented. It's live, no fake stuff, and this and that. But the problem is going back to what you said. How is that possible? Like you said, the average persons who enter into the markets only is about 2% who can walk away with their head held up high and being proud of themselves. And here you are, one of those people, and you dominate the scalping market. How did that happen?
Oh, I wish I had some like really cool thing to say here. I don't, because I really honestly think it comes down to, if I can do this, anybody can do this. And I wish I had some other GoPro woman, female trader. I really wish I had it in me. I wish I had the secret sauce. I don't. It comes down to, you can do this. The 18-year-old can do this. I'm pretty sure my 11-year-old, if he had an interest in, mommy, could do this. I think anybody can, but it's going to come down to knowing thyself. They're going to look at your charts, they're going to look at mine. They have to find what their eyes see, because even if I use the same terminology, even when it is accurate, their eyes are going to be a little different. Their management, their trigger finger, it's all going to be a little different. Even if it's only mildly variable, that variable still matters. So honing back on those rules, honing back on that management, and sticking with it. Like your trading career, you asked before we started recording, you said, how does somebody who has never traded before come to the market and be successful? And unfortunately, this is going to be live on YouTube. I don't know if it's unfortunate or not. I have a theory. Okay. And I think if I do make this course for any of the companies like Super Easy or the other companies, I would make this course. And the course would look something like this. How does somebody go from zero knowledge or complete failure after 20 years? Because we do work with people who are 3 times my senior and have failed in the market for 20 years. So how would that person come, completely clear their slate, and potentially be profitable in anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks? Because I have this theory that says, if you do this, that, this, that, this, that, in this specific order, and you tweak and you manage and you only tweak within the set of boundaries that are given, you, in theory, should be able to be profitable in 8 weeks. If you have a really steep learning curve, it might be 12. If you're really, really resistant, it might be 16, but it
Mhm.
shouldn't be longer than that. And that's what I would do, is I would literally come in, we're going to analyze what you do, analyze your wins and losses, we're going to analyze everything, and we're going to tweak it along the way. And with a specific set of criteria, those are the people, I think, after so many days, weeks, and months, would be very, very short term to get you from zero to hero, zero to profitable.
So let me ask you this: who influenced your trading as you were going, migrating from being the average retail trader who loses money to being able to create and design your own system of success?
Oh, I hear voices all the time, like that country song. So I would hate to leave anybody out in terms of my journey, because there's so many people I think who have made an enormous good impact, and even the people who I've learned from on the other side of the spectrum. I learned what I did not want to do. I learned who what I did not want to be, right? So I don't want to leave anybody out, but obviously there were several amazing coaches within IML. Sean Sutton is one of them. I still work with him to this day. No nonsense. Believe it or not, I've messed up his name forever, but finally, after 2 years of saying it publicly wrong, somebody corrected me. It's so I'm not going to say it today either. But no nonsense trading is who that is.
Mhm.
You have obviously Scott, who's in my group. There's a couple people who's in my group who I think are continuing to help mold me. My good friend Ray, we have traded together one on one for a lot of years. One of my business managers who live here in Florida, he is constantly inspiring me to rethink my box. And he is not a trader. Like he's horrible at trading, but he
Wow.
helps me to rethink my box enough to adjust my box. And I think that's important. So I think there's a lot of people.
And what books do you read or have read?
I read endlessly. I read endlessly. So obviously trading in the zone, market research. I love Ray, whatever his last name is. I read all the time and I listen to a ton of audio. So I'm a horrible person to ask. I would say keep reading. And if you don't get it, you need to read it 3 times. If you're using an Audible, you need to do that 6 times to retain the information. But keep going. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. I think this is another thing. And if for those who've been listening to you for a little while, I think you guys are picking up on the same thing. My question to you would be, do you think you're a logical thinker or an emotional thinker?
In life, I think I'm really working on not being as much of an emotional thinker. I'm even my current book right now is emotional awareness. It's really good, but and really painful to read. In business, I feel like God wired me to be, I'm very programmed for risk. I don't see risk. I only see the reward. As in, like, if I succeed or fail at this business, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to have to, believe it or not, say I'm still wired for logical emotion because and that sounds twisted, but I actually mean exactly what I said. It was not a mistake to say it that way because it's very illogical for me to have that much faith in my reward and completely dismiss the amount of risk. But in business, I am, and I always was in other industries since I was like 17. I was always really programmed for win, lose, or draw. I can handle this, period. And that's actually illogical. So I'm going to have to say emotionally logical for business.
Let me say this. I have another friend. And one day I need to introduce you guys. She was actually my accountant before I switched over. She started doing some other things. So she turned me on to my new accountant. But I'd actually just talked to Christy day before yesterday. And I swear to you, when I talk to you and when I talk to Christy, you guys are pretty much exactly the same. I swear to you, beautiful people, beautiful women. But when you talk to you guys about other things, then it's kind of like a switch clicks over and you become emotional on life circumstances. But if I talk to you about business, and instantly it's like a switch in your head clicks and you become this logical machine thinking person who is very calculated, very detailed, oriented, and very skilled. And I think if we're talking to how it from my I've been working with you for the last several years in our group, in the Signals group. But if I was to observe that success, let me rephrase that. If I was to take a needle and stick it in and draw blood from you guys and put it through a scope and try to diagnose, okay, what's separating these two people that they're highly successful in whatever they put their hand to do, I have to say that DNA that you have the ability to switch off the emotions and just go to logical thinking when it comes to your expertise. And for her, she runs tax accounting business. She does all these different various of business. When it comes to you and your trading, you smashed a record. I'm telling you, the Guinness Book of World Records need to have, because it's documented, it's live. It's unheard of. Who does that? Nobody does. And I know some top Forex traders. You do too. Who does that? Nobody does that. Nobody has accomplished that. So if anybody knows the Guinness Book of World Records, they need to turn them on to Miss Jenny because she's broken a record. Okay. But the deal is when I talk to you about other things, we can have an emotional conversation. But when it comes to trading or business, immediately it's like there's literally a switch that clicks in your head that causes you to be very logical. And I'm pushing this point for a reason. Do you believe that could be one of the success keys to why majority of other traders lose and you're finding success because they attach too much emotion to their trades? And I know we talked about it a little bit, but I'm trying to circle back around to that because I think that if other traders are hearing where I'm trying to go with this, they can kind of see where their flaw is.
I do, 100%. So something actually I picked up from you, you use the terminology emotional leverage, right? And it sounds so elementary, right? But it's really not. We start at the, beginning of the day with a cup full of water, right? However big your cup is. Some of us, it's bigger than others. Predetermined or not, doesn't matter. We are going to have to work with what we've got. But you only have what you've got. And that
Yeah.
whole concept of, you use the word emotional leverage. And to me, so many people don't consider, how much do you have today? It's going to be a variable amount based off of, did you fight with your spouse? Was your teenager a pain in the butt this morning? Did you anything? It could be good or bad. You could have just won the lottery, and that's also going to eat into your emotional leverage for the day, your emotional availability. You only have so much depending on how quickly you process that. So, like you were talking about your accountant, and I'll revert back to that for a second. My answer is, at the end of the day, conclusively, absolutely yes. Because for me, business is almost my hobby. It's my interest. It's my passion. Like, it's hard to get me not to talk about business. Like, a guy could be hitting on me, and I'm still like, I'm just thinking about, I try not to, but it's who I am. I'm completely go to logic. We could have dinner, it doesn't matter the day, the place, on a trail in the middle of a lake in Florida, doesn't matter. It's my brain goes there, probably very similar to your accountant. Her brain just clicks and this thing goes on, and then she's thinking this way. It's processing. Everything is like ticking and moving in this super proficient way. There's no gray area there. Everything runs smoothly. And because that's so simple, there's not a lot of an emotional baggage. That is increasing. And that's how I would say it, is because that is how I'm wired. Odds are, because that is how Christina or your accountant is wired, our level of emotional capacity is probably a lot bigger. So even the experiences we have aren't affecting us on the same way. Uh, so yeah, in short, yeah.
So if that's the key, and I'm driving, I mean, I hope you guys are taking notes and listening to where I'm driving this conversation, because again, having taught untold numbers of people around the world in trading and Forex, and Miss Jenny has done the same. She's, like I said, for those who don't know who she is the person who is over the scalping group in our signal service. Um, if you're not getting where I'm driving this, I want you guys to see what causes successful people to be successful versus the others. And one of the biggest factors, a matter of fact, I couldn't sleep last night. I stayed up and I was listening to some of Elon Musk, the guy over Tesla, PayPal, and all these other companies, SpaceX, and so forth. They all have something in common. And when it comes to business, there's this chill, relaxed, calm, emotions intact type of personality trait to whatever they apply their hands to do. And she has that factor. That's why I'm consistently asking her this, because I didn't have that. And it's always still, to this day, a challenge for me to work on that portion of me, because I don't have that under wraps. I am emotional. I am dealing with emotions and feelings and different things like that. But to become successful, you have to shut off your emotions. And this is one of the flaws that I see consistently across the board, is between the successful, or if I'm talking to a room full of bankers or whatever, if it was that conversation, when it comes to emotions, they would be saying the same thing. Why are we even talking about emotions? That's not what we deal with here. Well, what's the difference? Because they are rule-based people. And long as they have their rules intact, they don't need too much emotions attached. Would you agree with that?
I would. Well, wait, you just brought up Elon Musk. Let's use him as an example. So those who love him or hate him, sorry, just let's use him. He has a larger amount, right? He has
Yes.
a larger amount of emotional leverage than, for example, someone like you. Even though you're already successful, you've done your success multiple times, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I was getting to. Take somebody like Jeff Bezos, take somebody like Elon Musk, take somebody like the other high performing people. They run into problems 10 times anything what we've ever seen. They've experienced tragedy, catastrophe in their marriages, their lives, their children, money that we think we dream of, but that's their level of problems. Like, that's their problem for today, not their goal for tomorrow. With that in mind, they have a higher capacity of emotional leverage, right? They have that higher emotional leverage, which is what makes them perform the way they do. At least that's a factor in what makes them perform the way they do in business and in success. And they all have it. And like you were talking about, I feel like mine is a little higher. Not, I don't know if it's Elon Musk level. It might be, maybe one day. But that's what, yeah, it
So
is.
let me ask you this: would it be? Can we summarize and say that if you're going to be try to be successful in forex or any other endeavor as an entrepreneur, you have to have a high level of threshold of dealing with pain?
Yes. But that's just so sorry to get super deep and I'm blaming on the book. Okay. You don't have to hold it against me for half a second, but that's just it. What you're calling pain isn't pain yet. And that sounds really bad, but it isn't pain yet. So, for example, somebody who makes six figures a year, they get a $15,000, plumbing problem this month. They feel it, right? But somebody who makes $25,000 a year and they get a $15,000 plumbing problem, it's catastrophic, right? Your
Yes.
level of pain today is not Elon Musk's level of pain, right? So to even say it's a higher threshold of pain, it's not. It's your higher capacity. And I think it really does come into the capacity because it's not pain yet. Remember, your target or some of the people on this call, their target income is someone's bad day. It's someone's, oh, let me, sign this little check for this little problem. And that's what I mean by emotional capital. That's what I mean by I don't mind losing a trade. Like to me, it does not impact me. And my lot sizes aren't always 0.01s. They're not. Some of them are big and they're hurt. Like my biggest account that I lost, and one of them was very publicly lost. I mean, I had to that date never cleared that much in a year. And I blew that on stupidity. I mean, there was no good reason. I didn't have a good reason. I mean, I think I did at the time, but it's emotional capacity to handle that without it ending up in the hospital, without you ending up with a heart attack or more gray hairs, right? That is your emotional capacity, is how much you can afford where it still has no impact yet. And that's your
Mhm.
threshold needs up. It shouldn't be pain yet. Pain should happen at the end of your threshold, not at the beginning.
Wow. Okay. This is really good information. Really good information. So let me ask you one final question. If you were sitting in a room full of brand new traders who wanted to trade Forex, what would you tell them should be a good starting point for them to do?
Since I don't know them from Adam kind of concept, it's like I don't
Correct.
know from Adam. So step by step, number one, write down a trading plan, right? Write down your budget. Okay. Number one, go to babypips.com. It's free. Number two, stop buying people's stuff. Stop company hopping and broker hopping and blaming the rest of the world. Probably be number three. Pick any, I don't care what strategy, mine, yours, it could be the guy next door's. I don't care what it is. If your eyes see it and you can stick with it, pick that, create rules around it, management around it, and then you trade that until you were in a position where you can withdraw. Period. End of story, no matter what.
Simple as that. Do you guys see how she think? You see, she just did it again. See, see how she just hit it? Boom, 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 boom. That is just too cool. If that, you got to understand, and we're going to close this interview, but listen, that for a people, and I think this is the deceptiveness when it comes to Forex, because we are in the business of Forex, okay? In the business of Forex, you have to have the ability to shut down your emotional side. That's why they say trading is 10% strategy, 90% emotions, and or whatever these factors are. The deal is that I wanted you guys to hear from a professional trader who has broken, in my opinion, I know a lot of traders around where I have never heard. Can you repeat your record one more time for those who may have tuned in late or thousands who's going to catch us later?
So
How
as
many
of
pips
right
have you
now,
done in the last 6 months?
130,000 and 106. So 106 pips since February 2nd.
And all these are live
It's all live, it's all recorded.
and documented
Yep.
in our signals group. Okay. I know that's a world record. Okay. Period. My point is that one of the things that separates her from the average retail trader is not just the trading style, but it's the fact that she has the ability to manage her emotions during the trade. And if you look at, and I want you guys to just walk away with this idea. If you look at yourself in the mirror and you compare yourself to her and how she's looking at trades, can you ask yourself this honest question with an honest answer and say, when I place trades, I don't get emotional. It's just another transaction? Or are you asking yourself, hey, I put my mama's house that I wanted to build. I have my this house. I wanted to do this and wanted to buy, as you say, the Maserati money, stuff. Are you putting a whole lot of extra into the trade versus letting it be a simple transaction? Because if I was talking to a room full of bankers or institutional traders, will we be talking about emotions, or will we be simply talking about the strategies? Look at this, and we'll be looking at facts, figures, and numbers. And if this is not who you are, could this possibly be what's tripping you up when you're trading? Are you documenting, like she said, are you documenting your trading? That's one of the traits of successful traders. They're always documenting every trade so that they can tweak it, come back and create rules around it, and then they keep moving forward. How many trades have you documented last week? Win or lose, it didn't matter. Did you document that trade and have a track record of what you did so that you can create rules around it? Are you tracking how you felt on every trade? Is this part of your journal? Here's a big one. If you're dealing with a lot of emotional other things and you're already emotionally overwhelmed and you're an emotional trader, could it be possible you might need to just take a break until you can get other things under control? Because she's one of the rare persons in the world that I know had the ability to deal with so many other things and have the capacity to come to the Forex market and just completely treat it just like a transaction. However, if you look at her thinking process, you'll notice when it comes to business, she has the ability to shut off her emotions and it just becomes business. Is that you? And if it's not, then we have to deal with the truth. Because like the Bible says, the truth will set you free. There's no other way around it. So until you document exactly, not just the trades, your strategies, but how you felt, you'll never know for the truth. You'll never know what the truth is. And you can never correct what you don't know. Okay. Ms. Jenny, thank you very much for your time today. Everybody who's in the Zoom, can you give her a hand, please? Let's give her a hand. Type a number 50 in the box if you enjoyed this interview with Ms. Jenny. Ms. Jenny, thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful person. If you guys want to join the Signal service, click on the link on our website, www.supereasyforex.com, and you will be able to join it. And when you do join the Signal service, guess what? You'll be joining the scalping sessions and you'll be learning directly from a master trader. Okay. Which, by the way, let me leave one more tip. For you guys, one of the reasons why you struggle, if you listen to her, I asked her a specific question for a reason. I wanted to know who influenced her. And as you see, she reads books, she does these different things. Most traders that I know who's just coming into the game, they're not being influenced by anybody of success. They don't read books. They don't have no mentor or anything else. And this is why they're on this lonely trail of failure. Come on in. Join her class so that you can learn from a master trader. All right, you guys, have a great Sunday, everybody. Ms. Jenny, you're wonderful. Be blessed, sis.
Thank you.